In the shadowed halls of Valdor Keep, Princess Elowen walked with quiet resolve beside Sir Rodrik, the captain of the royal guard. A chill pervaded the air as they descended into the dimly lit dungeon where her younger brother, Prince Aedric, languished unjustly imprisoned. Torches cast flickering shadows against the rough stone walls, their light barely reaching the grim depths below. Elowen's heart raced. Every step carried the weight of justice and the shadow of betrayal. At the base of the winding stair, they encountered two guards stationed outside the dungeon corridor. Both men straightened at the sight of Rodrik and Elowen, their eyes narrowing with suspicion.
"What brings you here, Captain?"
asked one of the guards, a burly man with a scar stretching across his jaw. Rodrik stepped forward, his tone authoritative.
"I am here to free Prince Aedric. He is innocent, and his imprisonment is a mockery of justice."
The second guard, younger and nervous, glanced at his comrade before speaking.
"We've received no such orders, Captain."
Rodrik's voice turned steely, his presence imposing.
"You receive them now. Stand aside and open the cell."
The older guard placed a hand on the hilt of his sword.
"Apologies, Captain, but you'll have to leave. We answer only to the king's orders."
Rodrik's hand went to his own sword, his expression thunderous.
"How dare you defy me? I'm the captain of the Royal Guard."
Tension crackled in the air as the guards drew their blades.
"We're sorry, Captain,"
said the older guard, steel gleaming in his hand.
"but we can't let you pass."
Rodrik drew his sword with a sharp metallic ring, his movements measured and deliberate.
"Then you leave me no choice."
Elowen pressed herself into the shadows of the corner, clutching the folds of her dress. There was a clang of steel as one of the guards lunged at Rodrik, who parried the blow with practiced ease. Sparks flew as the captain responded with a swift blow, sending his opponent reeling back. The second guard circled Rodrik, aiming a blow at his shoulder, but Rodrik spun with fluid precision, parrying the attack with a resounding clash. The captain's skill was evident in every motion. He moved like a tempest, his blade darting with deadly purpose. The older guard, more seasoned, pressed him hard, while the younger one sought openings to exploit. Rodrik, however, remained undeterred, his focus unyielding. With a calculated feint, he drove the younger guard back, delivering a shallow cut to his leg. Seizing the moment, Elowen darted toward the small table where a ring of keys lay carelessly discarded. Her fingers trembled as she grabbed them, her gaze darting toward the fray. One of the guards, seeing her movement, shouted,
"Stop her!"
He made to follow, but Rodrik stepped into his path, blocking him with a sharp swing of his sword.
"You'll not touch her."
Rodrik growled, his voice like thunder. Elowen hurried to Elric's cell, fumbling with the keys as her brother rose from the straw-covered floor. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with determination.
"Elowen?"
he said, disbelief mingling with hope.
"Quickly, Aedric."
She whispered, unlocking the door.
"There is no time."
Aedric stepped out, gripping her hands tightly.
"You shouldn't have come."
"I couldn't leave you."
Elowen said, her voice breaking with emotion.
"Now hurry, Rodrik needs your help."
Aedric sprinted down the corridor, his sister close behind. The sound of the battle drew them to where Rodrik was locked in combat. One guard lay on the floor, clutching a wound to his side, while Rodrik held his ground against the other, whose blows came faster now as desperation set in. Prince bent quickly, retrieving the sword of the fallen guard. Joining the fight, he flanked the remaining opponent, attacking with a swift series of strikes. Together, he and Rodrik overwhelmed the guard, forcing him to his knees before delivering a final blow that left him unconscious. Rodrik wiped his brow, his breathing heavy.
Your Highness, you came just in time.
Elric clasped the captain's arm in gratitude.
Thank you, Rodrik. I owe you my life.
Captain shook his head.
You owe me nothing. Justice must be served, and quickly. We found evidence of your innocence, and Aedric, he's confessed.
Elric's face hardened.
Then we must act before Varian moves against us.
Elowen led them up the stairs, her heart pounding as the shadows seemed to draw closer. They reached a small armory, where the prince retrieved his armor and sword, donning them with grim efficiency with the help of the captain. As they emerged from the oppressive darkness of the dungeon into the flickering torchlight of the upper halls, the trio paused for a moment. Elric placed a steadying hand on Elowen's shoulder.
You saved me, Elowen. I will not forget that.
Rodrik drew his sword again, his expression determined.
Now let us finish this, for your father's sake, and for the kingdom's sake.
The halls of the castle echoed with hurried footsteps and the distant clash of swords. Prince Elric, Sir Rodrik, and their loyal followers emerged from the dim dungeons into the flickering torchlight of the palace corridors. A troop of royal guards awaited them. Rodrik stepped forward, his sword light in his hand.
What is the situation at the palace?
One of the guards, a grizzled veteran named Halric, saluted.
The king knows of the prince's escape. He and Marshal Garin have barricaded themselves in the throne room with a loyal troop of palace guards. They are moving toward the treasury.
Elric frowned.
What do they want there?
Rodrik's voice was grim.
There is a secret passage in the treasury that leads out of the castle. They will try to escape with the gold.
The prince's eyes blazed with anticipation.
If they escape with the money from the treasury, they may raise an army of mercenaries and return to plunge the kingdom into chaos. We must stop them at all costs.
As Elric's small but determined force moved through the corridors, more loyal guards joined them, spurred by the prince's rightful claim and the revelations of Varian's treachery. Some palace guards, unwilling to shed blood for a usurper, laid down their arms and joined the prince's cause, swelling their ranks. Rodrik took Elowen by the arm, his voice low but firm.
Your Highness, this fight will grow fierce. I'm assigning trusted men to escort you to your chambers and guard you with their lives.
Elowen hesitated, her gaze flicking to Elric.
I should stay.
No.
Elric interrupted.
Rodrik is right. I can't fight knowing you're in harm's way.
Reluctantly, Elowen agreed. With a contingent of guards, she was led away, her worried eyes lingering on her brother until the corridor swallowed her retreating figure. Elric's forces reached the great doors of the throne room, where they found them fortified with hastily erected barricades. Inside, Varian's loyalists dragged chests of gold toward the treasury's hidden exit, while others aimed bows and crossbows from behind the barricades. A hail of arrows met the oncoming force, but the disciplined and battle-hardened knights of Elric raised their shields in tight formation. Rodrik led the charge, his sword flashing as he roared.
For the true king!
Amidst the chaos, Rodrik spotted Garin, standing atop a barricade, shouting orders.
Garin!
Rodrik shouted, his voice cutting through the din.
Come to your senses! Stop this madness and spare your men needless bloodshed!
Garin hesitated, but before he could answer, Varian's voice rang out, cold and imperious.
You stand against your king. You are all traitors.
Elric stepped forward, his voice filled with righteous anger.
You are no king. You murdered our father and seized the throne through deceit. Surrender Varian or face justice.
For a moment the fighting ceased, the hall echoing with the tension of words. Elric raised his voice again.
Soldiers, you've been deceived. Lay down your arms and I promise you clemency. Do not spill blood for a false king.
Varian's laugh was sharp and bitter,
They serve the crown and the realm, not the whims of a disgraced prince. I am their king, and you have no proof of your lies."
Rodrik stepped forward, his sword tip resting on the floor.
"We do have proof, Varian. Aedric confessed that you gave him the dagger to kill the king."
Varian's grin twisted with malice.
Aedric? That broken fool? As far as I know, he's no longer alive to tell his tale.
Rodrik's confidence faltered for a moment, his eyes darting to Elric.
"Dead?"
He murmured, the word heavy with shock. Before another word could be spoken, one of Varian's guards, unable to bear the pressure, loosed an arrow, and the battle erupted anew. Elric's forces surged forward, shields raised as they pressed against the barricades. The Royal Guard's superior training and cohesion began to tell, their ranks moving with precision. Rodrik's blade was a blur, striking down one defender after another, while Elric, clad in the armor he'd reclaimed, fought with ferocity born of righteous anger. Varian's forces, outnumbered and demoralized, began to falter. Some dropped their weapons and surrendered, while others tried to hold their ground, only to be overwhelmed by the relentless advance. Rodrik and Elric fought side by side, their swords cutting through the resistance as they pushed toward the treasury doors. The prince's voice carried over the clash of steel.
"Hold the line. Don't let them escape with the gold."
Seeing his forces crumble, Varian turned to Garin.
"We're done here. Get the gold we can and retreat."
The remaining palace guards hastily loaded carts with chests of gold. Mounting their horses, Varian and Garin led the retreat through the secret passage. The sound of galloping hooves echoed as the usurper fled the castle. Elric and Rodrik burst into the treasury moments later. Although the secret exit was blocked, half the gold remained untouched. Rodrik looked around the room with satisfaction.
"They didn't take everything."
Elric sheathed his sword and turned to Rodrik.
"What now?"
Rodrik's face was grim but resolute.
"You must be crowned without delay and prepare for war. Varian will gather his strength. We need spies to follow his movements and allies to rally to our side."
Elric nodded.
"Then let's restore order here. The kingdom must see that justice has returned to Valdor."
The prince, the captain, and their loyal forces emerged from the treasury into a castle, still ringing with echoes of battle, but ready to embrace the dawn of a new reign. After a fierce fight in the throne room, Prince Elric and Sir Rodrik made their way to the chambers where Aedric was imprisoned. A deep foreboding shadowed their steps, and the silence in the palace seemed heavier than usual. When they reached the door, Rodrik hesitated, his hand on the hilt of his sword.
"Let's hope Varian is lying,"
he muttered, pushing the door open. Inside, the air was thick with a sour smell. Aedric lay motionless on the narrow bed, his face pale and waxen. His body was limp, his lips a sickly blue. Rodrik approached cautiously, kneeling beside the body.
"Poison,"
he said darkly, running his fingers over a small cup on the nightstand.
"Cunningly done. No doubt to silence him before he could speak further."
Elric's jaw was set, his eyes blazing with anger.
"Varian will answer for this."
A few moments later, the castle physician entered the room. He quickly examined Aedric and confirmed the grim truth. But when Elric and Rodrik tried to question him about the poisoning, the physician abruptly asked to leave. By the time they sent for him again, he had disappeared, leaving behind only suspicions and unanswered questions. 2 days later, the castle's great hall was a scene of jubilant splendor. Banners of crimson and gold hung from the vaulted ceiling, and the air rang with the triumphant sound of trumpets. Nobles from all over the kingdom had gathered to witness the coronation of Prince Elric, rightful heir to the throne. Elowen stood beside her brother, her dress shimmering like sunlight on water. Her face, though darkened by recent grief, was bright with hope. Rodrik, in ceremonial armor, stood behind the royal siblings, his watchful eyes scanning the hall. As the crown was placed upon Elric's head, the assembled crowd cheered loudly. They cried, their voices a wave of devotion and relief. The young king rose from his throne, addressing the assembled lords and knights.
Today we honor not only the crown, but the justice and unity it represents. We have lived through dark times, but together we will restore strength and peace to this kingdom.
The hall erupted in applause, the sounds echoing throughout the castle. For the first time in weeks, a sense of hope spread among the people of Valdor. A few days after the coronation, news arrived from spies sent to track Varian's movements. Rodrik delivered the report directly to King Elric, his expression grim.
Your Grace?
Rodrik began.
Varian has fled to the kingdom of Morvain in the south.
Rodrik continued.
Our spies report that Varian is gathering forces there. Ulthar seems more than willing to aid him, no doubt hoping to weaken us for his own gain. They are gathering an army.
The king nodded, his face set in determination.
Varian will not rest until he has his crown back. We must prepare for war.
Rodrik placed a steadying hand on Elric's shoulder.
We have faced threats before, Your Grace, and we have endured. With the loyalty of your people and the strength of your allies, we will prevail.
Elric looked out the window to the south, where the distant horizon seemed to shimmer with the promise of a storm.
Varian may have found new allies. Let him come, we will be ready.
And so began the preparations for what would become a struggle not just for the throne, but for the very soul of the kingdom. And when the drums of war sounded, Aedric resolved to meet his brother, not with hatred, but with the justice that had been denied their father. Please like, leave comments, and help develop the channel and content. Thanks for watching. See you in new stories.
In shadows of castles tall and proud, beneath the moon behind the shroud, swords are forged in steely light, for honor guides the fearless knight. Trumpets sound from the mountain high, echoes of valor touch the sky. Armored hearts and burning eyes, in battle chants we rise and rise. Ride on through mist and flame, with courage bold and hearts untamed. Our legend told in fire and stone, the knights of honor claim the throne. In the forest dark, where wolves do prowl, we march ahead, no step is foul. A brotherhood in silver clad, no fear, no foe shall make us sad. The dragons roar and maidens cry, we fight, for love will never die. Through lands unknown and seas so wide, with every dawn we fight with pride. Ride on through mist and flame, with courage bold and hearts untamed. Our legend told in fire and stone, the knights of honor claim the throne.
Thanks for watching to the end. See you in new adventures.